The Cincinnati Bengals just made a move that should catch everyone's attention. They've signed defensive end Isaiah Foski, a former second-round pick in the 2023 draft. At just 24 years old, Foski still has all the tools that once made him a near first-round talent, standing 6 feet 5 inches, weighing 265 pounds, and built like a monster off the edge. Before we dive into the latest Bengals news, make sure you subscribe to the channel, drop a like, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any updates. Alright, let's get into it. Foski's journey is interesting. He spent the last 2 seasons with the New Orleans Saints, but never really got a chance to show what he can do, just 64 snaps last year and 83 the year before. That's unusual for a player taken so high. But here's where it gets exciting for the Bengals. Foski played under defensive coordinator Al Golden at Notre Dame. That means Cincinnati now has a coach who already knows his strengths, his weaknesses, and exactly how to use him. In college, Foski dominated with back-to-back double-digit sack seasons, 11 in both 2021 and 2022. That production shows the raw talent is there. And now, paired with the Bengals' defensive line rotation, he'll get another chance to prove himself. This isn't just a depth signing, it's a low-risk, high-upside move for Cincinnati. The Bengals are quietly stacking pieces, and Foski could be the kind of player who thrives in the right system. Now, let's be clear, what happened in New Orleans doesn't define Isaiah Foski. Football isn't a one-man game. When a defense is struggling as a whole, even talented players can get lost in the shuffle. And that's exactly what happened with Foski during his short stint with the Saints. His grades weren't eye-popping, but they weren't disastrous either. In fact, by 2023, his run defense showed real promise, even if his pass rush numbers were inconsistent. The key detail here is his age. He's only 24. That's extremely young for a defensive lineman still developing in the NFL. Most players at this stage are just scratching the surface of what they can become. Foski has size, strength, and explosiveness that you simply cannot teach. With time and the right coaching, those traits can be molded into something special. And this is where the Bengals' move stands out. Cincinnati doesn't usually make in-season roster additions like this, but lately, they've shown a willingness to adapt and keep improving. Signing Mike Pennell earlier for depth on the defensive line was one step, and now adding Foski is another. It's a signal that the Bengals are committed to strengthening their defense week by week, making sure they're prepared for the long grind of the season. What makes this move even more exciting is how Foski fits the Bengals system. Cincinnati thrives when they can rotate fresh bodies on the line and keep constant pressure on opposing quarterbacks. With veterans leading the way, Foski won't be asked to carry the load right away. He'll be allowed to learn, develop, and contribute in specific situations where his size and power can make the biggest impact. For the Bengals, this is about more than just depth. It's about taking a young, raw talent with all the physical tools and seeing if they can unlock his potential. If they can, this signing could look like a hidden gem down the line, one of those under-the-radar moves that pays off big when the season gets tougher. The Bengals aren't done building, and the Isaiah Foski signing proves it. Standing 6 feet 5 inches and weighing 265 pounds, he has the kind of frame every team covets in a defensive end. He's powerful, athletic, and young, still just 24 years old. Players with that size and raw ability don't come around often, which is why he was a high draft pick in the first place. The challenge now is putting those physical gifts together with consistent production on the field. Foski has been labeled more of a run-stopper than a pure pass rusher, at least based on his early pro evaluations. But that's not necessarily a bad thing for Cincinnati. The Bengals' defense thrives when it has balance up front, guys who can set the edge, collapse the pocket, and force opponents into uncomfortable situations. Foski may not be a finished product yet, but his versatility could make him valuable in multiple roles, from early down run defense to rotational pass rushing situations. And here's what makes this move especially smart. The Bengals aren't investing huge money or locking themselves into long-term risk. This is a low-cost, high-upside signing. If Foski develops under Lou Anarumo's system and with veterans around him, Cincinnati could end up with a steal. If it doesn't work out, the team hasn't lost anything significant. It's the kind of forward-thinking roster move that keeps a playoff contender flexible and dangerous. What's surprising is that New Orleans gave up on him so quickly. Foski logged just 83 snaps as a rookie and 64 snaps in his second year, barely enough time to evaluate a player of his potential. That's why this signing feels like an opportunity. The Bengals are essentially betting that with better coaching, a stronger locker room, and a clearer role, Foski can unlock the talent that made him a star at Notre Dame. For Cincinnati, this isn't just another name on the depth chart. This is about taking a chance on a young player who still has untapped potential. And in a league where defensive linemen often take years to develop, the Bengals might be catching him at the perfect time. When you look at Isaiah Foski's early NFL career, the snap counts tell the story. Just 83 plays in his rookie season, followed by 64 the next year. That's barely over 140 snaps in 2 years. For a second-round pick, that's almost unheard of. Teams don't usually give up that quickly on players drafted that high, which makes this move by the Bengals so intriguing. The reality is, Foski never got a real chance to develop in New Orleans. Sometimes it's about fit. Sometimes it's about coaching. And sometimes it's about opportunity. What Cincinnati sees is not a player who failed, it's a player who hasn't been unlocked yet. At 6 feet 5 inches and 265 pounds, Foski brings traits you simply cannot coach. That kind of size, length, and athleticism give him a foundation most defensive linemen would dream of. With the right development, he could easily add strength, refine his technique, and become a versatile force up front. And here's the advantage the Bengals have: defensive coordinator Al Golden. Golden coached Foski at Notre Dame, and knows exactly what kind of player he is. He knows his strengths, his weaknesses, and how to put him in the best possible position to succeed. This isn't some blind gamble on a cast-off, it's a calculated move based on first-hand knowledge. Golden isn't just hoping Foski can fit the system. He already knows where he fits. That's why this signing makes so much sense for Cincinnati. Instead of being just another "what if," Foski is coming into a situation where the staff already has a blueprint for how to use him. That changes everything. It's not just a roll of the dice, it's a second chance with the right coaches, the right scheme, and the right locker room around him. And let's not forget what he did in college. Foski was a flat-out star at Notre Dame, racking up back-to-back double-digit sack seasons, including 11 sacks in both 2021 and 2022. That's not potential, that's proven production at a high level. If he can even come close to replicating that impact in Cincinnati, the Bengals might have landed one of the steals of the season. Isaiah Foski wasn't just another player at Notre Dame, he was a cornerstone of their defense for 4 straight seasons. His college production speaks volumes: 11 sacks in 2021, followed by another 11 in 2022. Back-to-back double-digit sack seasons at a powerhouse program don't happen by accident. Foski proved he could dominate against some of the best defensive lines in college football, and that's exactly what pushed him into the second round of the draft. By 2023, he declared early for the NFL, skipping his senior year. That decision showed the level of confidence both he and scouts had in his abilities. While things didn't fully pan out with the Saints, that resume from Notre Dame is still undeniable, and it's one of the biggest reasons Bengals fans should be optimistic about this signing. The real X factor here is defensive coordinator Al Golden. Golden was the man running Notre Dame's defense during Foski's final season, and that year turned out to be one of his best. Golden knows his game inside and out, how to maximize his length off the edge, where he can win with power, and where he still needs polish. That kind of familiarity is rare in the NFL, and it gives the Bengals a unique advantage. For Cincinnati, this isn't just about adding another defensive body. It's about reuniting a coach and player who already share trust and history. Golden doesn't have to guess how to use Foski. He's already built a system that brought the best out of him once before. Now, the goal is to do it again, this time at the professional level, with a defensive unit that has playoff aspirations. When you combine Foski's proven college production with his physical tools and a coach who knows him better than most, you start to see why the Bengals made this move. It's not just a gamble, it's a calculated decision rooted in familiarity, upside, and fit. And if Cincinnati can tap into the player Foski was at Notre Dame, this signing could look brilliant down the stretch.